talk about this next one. Time travel equation cracked.
Yeah. Oh, cracked and in quotes. So this is it's a cool story. So Professor Mallette, Ron Mallette, he's an astrophysicist who has dedicated his career to researching time travel. And the thing is his journey began tragically when his father died suddenly of a heart attack when he was 10 years old. So he was so devastated, but he found solace in H.G. Wells's The Time Machine, which ignited a lifelong quest to build a real time machine. And he's been determined to understand the nature of time, and he's been motivated by the possibility of going back to see his father again, which it's sad but interesting. And through decades of study of Einstein's theories of relativity and the properties of black holes, he's developed his theoretical basis for time travel. What he proposes is that, and this is cool. I'll get this is cool because of Interstellar. And Interstellar got so many things so accurately correct when it comes to black holes and different things like that. So, but his proposal is that the immense gravity of rotating black hole can warp space-time and create a time loop, twisting time back on itself. So he envisions replicating these effects using a circulating beam of laser light to manipulate gravity. And so by mimicking a spinning black hole, he theorizes that a time loop could be generated, allowing travel into the past. Now, the obstacles to actualizing such a time machine are monumental, and he admits that the energy requirements far exceed current capabilities. So the feasibility and scale of the device remain highly speculative, obviously. But he's optimistically claiming to have worked out the theory. The practical realization is like the theory's there, but the realization is, and you're this is go back because we always ask how long. We're talking decades or centuries away. The other thing is his concept has limitations. Any time travel, and this relates to other time travel movies as well that you may or may not have seen, but any time travel would be constrained to the period after the machine is switched on. So you cannot go back to a point before the device was created. So traveling back further in time remains firmly in the realm of science fiction. And I think there's, I think it's the TV show called The Lazarus Project, which utilizes this concept. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Really cool sci-fi kind of stuff that is not reality, but that one step closer.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about and unpack here. I was quiet because, I don't like the movie Interstellar. Maybe I'm the only one, but so every time you refer to it, I roll my eyes because, it's a movie. Let's just not talk about it as scientific fact. But hey,
Yeah.
um, furthermore, he talks about you can send information back, but you can only send it back to the point, like you said, where you started the operating of the device. So, um, since I just said, hey, that's a movie, let's not talk about it. Let me give you another movie. What was the Denzel Washington one where they sent him back like 5 days, 7 days to
Oh
solve
yeah,
the
there was like that
terrorist
boat
attack?
crash and everything.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
because they could just send him back. It was a very short period of time. It was
Yes. That was different because I think as time progressed, like you could only go back a fixed amount of time. So as time went forward, you could only go back a certain amount of time from that forward time, if that makes sense. Was that right? Am I right in that?
um
Was that how it was? Or was it a fixed
yes.
point regardless?
Well, I think it was a fixed window. Whatever they had a machine,
Fixed
it was a
window.
fixed
Yeah.
window in an area of it can only go back 7 days and was always shifting, or how many ever days it was.
Yeah.
Similar to whatever that time travel machine they built in that. I think there was a show called 7 Days where the guy could go back 7 days.
Oh, I never saw that one.
It was
Yeah.
in a thing, and it would. The interesting part of that was that he would like one save the world every time, pretty much,
Yeah.
and um everything. he would lose all the stuff that happened in the relationship for the past 7 days because he'd go back. So he'd
Yeah.
build up all this stuff for these characters, and then he'd go back, and they would have either no idea who he was, or so there was a lot of interesting stuff where, after a few seasons, this person had a bunch of relationships with all these people around them that they had no recollection of because they were
Yeah.
in other time
Okay.
jumps and stuff. So it becomes a little bit of a anyway. Let's get back to this rather than
Oh no, but that's good. One more that just quickly. The other one that comes to mind is I think it's The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, where he dies and he keeps coming back. There's tons. We could do a whole episode on those. But yeah, yeah.
so let's get back to the theory here. So let me, you put it in great scientific terms, and me being the normie in the room, if we're gonna from a point of view. So we shoot a bunch of lasers at a black hole, and eventually we can cause it to spin.
Yeah. I didn't do a deep dive into it, but yeah. So um,
Because that doesn't seem like that would work at all to me.
no, I think that's just for to test some of his formulas. I think that I don't think that's what's going to make or break, and we might be able to get more into details of that in the next article that we talk about. But yeah, so his the ideas it's his ideas are built again on Einstein's general theory of relativity, and it shows that mass and energy can bend space-time. So what he's done is he's tried to study the effects of rotating black holes on space-time geometry using lasers. But yeah, I don't know exactly what the experiments are that he's going to design.
So there's black holes out there already rotating. What causes a black hole to rotate versus not rotate?
That's a good question. I Does anyone out there know that? That's a
Thanks
good
for
one.
watching,
No, I have
everybody.
no clue. What's that?
Yeah, I like because we're talking specifically. So if we're not making them rotate with lasers, we're gonna in the next article we're gonna talk about creating black holes and stuff. So but I'm just trying to get my head around. Okay, so we have we have a black hole spinning. We can only go back in time to the point we turned on this machine, which I don't quite understand. If the black hole's been spinning for 1,000 years already, why couldn't we go back to the time of that? So it's only when we turn on this machine at that point
Yeah.
forward, we can go back to that time.
So speaking of people using GPT, I just typed it in as you were talking here. So what causes a black hole to rotate? There's a couple things. So angular momentum of the original star. So if the star that collapsed to form the black hole already had significant angular momentum, the rotation gets conserved and carried over to the black hole. As the black hole, the other thing is disk spin. So as the black hole draws in and it draws in the surrounding material from the disk's orbital angular momentum gets transferred to spin up the black hole. The other one is mergers with other black holes. Outside torque, so interactions with external magnetic fields or gravitational forces, can apply torques to spin up the black hole gradually over time. This is crazy stuff that I didn't do a deep dive into black holes before this, but now I'm going to after just doing this. So the other thing is in we'll get into the next. I think it's in this one, but Hawking radiation. So some theories suggest
That's in the next one. But
preferential
yeah, go ahead.
emission of Hawking radiation in one direction could exert torques to slowly spin up black holes. So,
This is interesting. And the article talks about a massive amount of energy needed to do this. So the question becomes, we can generate massive amounts of energies from black holes. So, setting up something that rotates a black hole to capture that energy and then using that to set up some sort of time travel portal thingy seems
you're getting really
logical.
into sci-fi, but the problem is though, right? And this is what I'm worried about is, um, uh, if we actually creating a black hole for us to harvest energy from, uh,
That's just a bad idea. Like,
are we going to
creating
be
black
able
holes
to
are a bad
control
idea.
it?
Pardon?
Are we going to be able to control it, or is it going to consume us?
Yeah, I mean, this is my at this point in time, I'm thinking we're talking about these black holes out there that exist. We'd have to go to that black hole and, or close enough to it that we could harvest stuff from it rather than,
Yeah, but if
um
we get close to that black hole, then that's when time is supposed to start warping as well,
well,
too, right?
close is relevant, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's all,
Yeah.
uh right? So anyway, this is interesting. Obviously, we've always thought black holes were connected to time and space. It's interesting that the theoretically we can only go back to the time we turned on this theoretical device that we're going to create,
Yeah.
which is a window rather than saying going back to um, historical times. And the second thing is they talk about sending data back, which to me is more realistic than other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how does that in your mind change the game? Let's just say in 20 years, one government turns on this thing and figures out how to send data back.
Yeah. Then we
Just
get into the time loop, and
absolutely.
we get into all of these other things like parallel timelines.
Doesn't that end it for everyone? Like as soon as one person has it,
Yeah.
or country or whatnot, then immediately they're going to be get whatever technology from the future, right?
Yeah,
You
we're gonna
figure
have a
10
lot more
minutes
of those.
later, all this information will be dumped.
Exactly. Yeah, and then we'll have a lot more different monopoly arguments and Berenstein Bears arguments and different things like that with multiple different timelines, and it's scary. The thing that scares me the most is that the theories that are being presented in the movies, if they're actually real, then we should definitely be worried about this for sure. But the thing is we don't know, and we're decades, if not centuries, off from this becoming a reality. Unless, again, we talk about unless there's a huge breakthrough, right? Unless we get the what's the device that Tony Stark makes, that energy thing, the energy core, or
Oh yeah, the thing he's
yeah,
got.
I
I
can't
can't
remember.
remember the name of it off the top of my head, but yes.
Yeah.
Um, the so now you brought that out of the show. Okay, what what are some of the ways to prevent time travel from becoming a reality?
Government oversight.
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew they'd
that
get you.
that's just going to make everybody laugh, right? They're not going to stop it. They're just going to want it for themselves.
No, no, that's what I mean. Yeah. There's no way to stop it. You can't stop progression. You can't stop anything from happening. You can try to suppress it, uh, but there's no way to. I don't think there's any way to stop it. Do you? You asked the question. Do you have anything in mind on how to stop it?
Well, right now, obviously, they can't. If you need that amount of energy, we're nowhere near it, so we're okay. But this has always been my theory. Like time travel doesn't exist yet
Yeah,
because where are the time travels? And this has always been a thing. Like if it existed in the future and people could come back, at some point we would know about it. It's just starts things start showing up in pictures, things start happening. We're now cameras everywhere in a society. So it's interesting
yeah,
to um but if the theory is that, well, you can't go back um until the point where you turn on the machine, then somebody just hasn't turned on the machine yet.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Do you ever think about doing that? Oh, let's set this point in time, and if I ever can ever time travel, then come back to this point in time and prove it to me, kind of thing. You ever thought about that?
No, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
um I always thought about you never can tell if you've made the right decision. Well, sometimes you can, but you never can tell about the road not traveled. Whether it's traffic, like last night was we got out from our event just after the Raptors game, and I said, "All
Mm.
right, let's not like you see let's keep going, and we'll head out Blue Jays way versus heading out near the
Yeah.
ACC where the stuff's happening, or whatever it's called now, Scotiabank
Scotiabank
Center.
Arena. Yeah.
Um, the and that worked out great for us. But the
Yeah.
question is, would it worked out good or bad if we went the other way? And that's just like any decision in life, whether you
Yeah.
date someone, marry someone, take a job, don't take a job, smile, frown, these
Yeah.
things that could change your life. Um, the question becomes like, at what point does that, as soon as it becomes massively available, the world, everything just unravels.
Yeah.
So I don't, think we're going to be able to get there, but who
No,
knows?
it's funny though. It's funny you say that though because it reminds me of this episode of Community where they're all in the apartment and a pizza's getting delivered and the Jeff rolls the 10-sided or 6-sided dice and they're like, you just created 6 potential timelines, right? Because every roll of the dice is yeah, could so um it's crazy to think and then now we get into we're talking about string theory, right? And we're talking about parallel universes and different things like that. So not just the thing is with this is I don't just think there's time travel issues. I think there's parallel universe, parallel timeline issues as well that come into play with this.
Yeah, that whole becomes, are there parallel realities? Are there, you say that when you roll a six-sided dice you just created, so
Yeah,
you play D&D or whatever, you roll a percentile die, you just created 100 different futures.
yeah,
So, uh, there's a lot of theories around this. The question, a lot of people say, yeah, no, that's not how it works. People will say it works from there's significant moments in your life. It's not whether, um, you put an extra pinch of salt on your thing today,
yeah,
but it's your encounters with the other things around you, not the rolling of the dice itself, but the interactions with the people and the things.
yeah,
Because you still roll the dice in all those realities. The numbers doesn't really matter. It's what matters, what reactions is to the people around you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
It,
just getting back to this article, and this might be controversial, but I think something that's more practical than this um, is wormholes. So rather than warping space time directly, maybe transversable wormholes could potentially connect different points in space and time as a shortcut.
yeah, it's all leading to these gravitational waves being way more
Yeah,
powerful than anything we think of, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So this is really interesting. Love time travel stuff. We can Doctor Who up in here all day long. Any final words on this?
No, just in the thing is going through this article and reading about it, and reading about Professor Mallette. The thing is if you think about every genius or every like person who's come up with these different theories, the time that they were alive, they've always been seen as crazy or quack or whatever, and then later on down the road, years later, their theories are proven, and so they kind of redeem themselves after death. So who knows if this is one of those? But yeah, don't discount these theories just yet.